All right. Nice selection of guitars you got in the background there. I just noticed
Oh yeah, I play guitar a little bit.
a little bit. I hear.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get started anyway. One thing I like to talk about is musical origins. Like, obviously, we're all fans of the heavy music. So, what was it that kind of attracted you to the heavy music, and how that developed into wanting to form a band, and then asking Alexandra how that started? Then,
Honestly, I've been around music since I was like 2, 3 years old. I absolutely love all kinds of music, whether it's rock and metal to country and blues and jazz and pop and rap. I love music in general. But I think there was just something that happened when I was like, I don't know, I was like 12 or 13 or something, and I had Metallica's self-titled album, the Black Album. I bought that, brought it home, and Through the Never came on, and that guitar riff just shot jolts of electricity through my body. And I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, I want to play rock and metal music forever. This is what I want to do. There was just something about the energy of that riff, that song at that time in my life. It was just unmatched and unparalleled. So that was kind of the catalyst that sent me down the sort of rock and metal rabbit hole.
yeah, that was kind of the same as myself. Actually, that album.
So yeah, incredible album.
I think the main one for me would probably been Sad But True, because that riff just comes down like a ton of bricks just coming down on top of you. Like, that's a heavy fucking
It's
riff.
it's still to me so heavy. Like I still listen to that riff and go, how did they get this to sound that heavy? I still can't understand it. It's insane.
And it still sounds the same when they do it live as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Just unreal. Like,
They're just a phenomenal band, man. They're just an anomaly.
there'll never be another like them anyway, and they're still going.
Yep.
So I was reading that the very first time you played Download would have been 2011.
Right.
So what was it like? Was it felt like you're stepping into history there because of the Donington Castle history with the rock and the metal music? Like, were there
Yeah,
nerves there? Like,
we had wanted to play Download. I think, like you said, the first time we played it, I think it was 2011. So we'd been wanting to play Download for a while. I mean, before asking, we all wanted to be playing Download as kids anyway, you know.
yeah,
But when we were in asking, we really wanted to play it, and it took years to get an offer. And I remember um, we played I think at the time it was called the Pepsi Max stage, but it was like a tent. So we didn't even get to play one of the main stages. It was like a tent in the middle, and it was only like 1,000 capacity tent. It wasn't very big. It was really small. But when we went on, there was like 10,000 people that showed up. So the outside was rammed. It was absolutely insane. And I think
nice.
I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, it was such an incredible feeling. It was so cool to sort of peek under the doors of the tent and just see the floods of people outside trying to get in. And yeah, Download holds a special place in our heart. You know, it's we love festival season anyway. Playing festivals is insane. You know, there's nothing else like it. But obviously, Download, being English and being proud of that, you know, it's always gonna hold a special place in our hearts.
Now, because I know a lot of bands say that when they do festivals, it's like they feel like they have to give it an extra 110% because you're trying to win over other people that wouldn't necessarily be there to see you as well. Was that something you felt when you were there as well?
I think honestly, no. I feel like that every single show we play anyway. I feel like you should, for us, whenever we go on stage, obviously everyone has good days and bad days. We're human
Yeah.
beings at the end of the day. But for us, anytime we step foot on stage, whether there's 100 people there or 80,000 people in an audience, we try and put on the exact same show as we would in either situation. I think that's important, and obviously winning over new fans is a huge goal because you want to expand, you want to grow. But the fans that you do have, they deserve the same show from us that we would give to anyone else that we're trying to win over. That's just how we look at it. That's how we always perform. And like I said, everyone has on days and off days. It's hard to just be consistent and be 100% every night. But you just got to do your best.
So the first time there, But there were any bands or musicians that you seen there that you just kind of fangirled a little over? It's like, oh my god, I can't believe that's him there.
Oh man, I can't even remember. I can't even remember who played Download that year. But you know, it still happens now. I've been doing this for such a long time, and I'll still see some people. Like we were talking about Metallica in the beginning of this. I remember I went to go and hang out with the Avenged Sevenfold guys. They were main support for Metallica a few years ago, and I went to go hang out and say what's up. And
Very good live band
uh,
as well.
I was walking down the hallway, and Kirk Hammett was just stood in the hallway, and even I was like, "Holy shit, that's Kirk Hammett." And the Avenged guys were like, "Yep, he's on the whole tour," and I was like, "Yeah, damn, that's wild," you know.
No, I've been lucky to see Avenged a few times as well, and they are very good live as well.
They're amazing live. They're so good. Now they're, you know, again, everyone has on days and off days, but they're pretty fucking consistent. They're a great live band, and their show is so good too. Their live show, just not even just them as the band, but their everything they bring, their theatricals, like it's really really good.
Now, because I know that you have very high energy shows, and like sometimes you hear like things go a bit crazy on the stage a bit. Would you say there's any standout moments where something went a bit wrong, and you're kind of trying to keep the vibe and the energy going so the crowd don't say something is going wrong, if you get me? Like
I mean,
trying
it
to keep the
happened.
thing going.
Yeah, I mean, that's happened a lot, but anything can go wrong on a live show. That's what's so crazy that a lot of people don't even realize. So, like, it can be something crazy. Like, we've had people in our band break bones on stage. I've broken my hand on stage before. Sam's rolled his ankle. We've had injuries and stuff on stage. But I think the worst thing that can go wrong on stage where you're really trying to hold shit together is when you're running your in ears because you got to keep the click track going and everyone's in your ears and that's how you hear. That's it. When that starts messing up, like if there's interference from another show down the road, or if you're in a venue where the walls are particularly thick, you know, then interference happens and stuff. That's what's really difficult because you're trying to play and you're getting like static noises blasting into your ear and stuff. And that's what's really difficult to try and maintain composure when you're on stage and that's happening because the crowd doesn't know that's happening, but you could sit there and be like frazzled and getting annoyed and they're going to look at you and be like, what the hell is that guy doing? Like, what's his deal? But it can be really, and I've even had temper tantrums on stage and my shit's not working and I've gone, fuck, you know, and you end up throwing a guitar because it's so frustrating trying to play and do your best and something in your ears is going on. Like I remember playing a festival somewhere in Europe quite a few years ago now, and another band's frequency that was playing on another stage at the other side of the festival at the same time as us
Oh no.
was coming through my in ears. So I'm trying to play my songs, and there's another band's set coming through my ears, and I'm just on stage like, what is happening right now? That's the thing that's really difficult over like some crazy antic or anything.
That could really throw you off.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And well, he's eventually going back to the download thing. He's eventually played main stage back in 2013. Um, so what was the feelings going into that? Like you're finally on the main stage of the big download, the big daunting castle. Like, were there a sense of like nerves? Is like, can we pull this off? Or
It's scary, you know, especially like before you go on. There's a sea of people. There's like 60, 70,000 people stood in front of a stage, and you can just hear it, you can feel it, the energy's through the roof. And all that's separating you from that is a black curtain when you're backstage, and
yeah,
you're back there just like your heart's racing, and it's like, oh my god. Because the other thing about festivals is there's no sound check. You don't get
no,
to know if everything's working really or anything like that. So you could go out on stage and you're just like, please let everything be working properly. So that's the first thing that's stressful because you walk out on stage in front of 60,000 people and your guitar's not working and things go downhill pretty quickly from there. But I feel like for me, the nerves are all building right before that moment where the intro starts and you walk out on stage and then they go away. The nerves always just go away instantly for me. And it's just like, holy cow, like this is awesome. And the energy that the crowd is giving off, it sort of carries you through the whole thing. And there's been times where I've come off stage and like then I've thrown up and I've gone, holy cow, that was crazy, you know. But when you're on stage, I feel like for me, I just forget everything. There's no nerves. There's no, what am I supposed to be doing? It's just, you're on autopilot almost.
So like any pre or post gig like rituals is do to get yourselves hyped up and ready to go, or how do you wind down after a big show like that?
We do a thing called Power Hour. We're actually in the last few tours, it's turned into Power Hour and a half because as we're getting older, it's taken us longer to get ready for stage. But basically, Power Hour started where the hour before we go on stage, we stop everything we're doing. It doesn't matter what we're doing, who we're hanging out with, who we're talking to. We stop everything we're doing, and we have like a playlist called our Power Hour playlist, and it changes on every tour, but it's usually filled with like, you know, Metallica and Avenged and Slipknot and just stuff that really gets your energy going. And we crank that as loud as possible. We get changed into our stage clothes and we'll have like a beer or two. And that's what we call Power Hour. And you just get loose and you start warming up, and we spend the hour before we go on just sort of getting in the zone. Like I said, lately that's turned into like Power Hour and a half. It takes us a little bit longer to get changed and straighten out the old bent backs. But yeah, it's we just try and get ourselves in the zone right before we go on.
So what would be the first time with Alex and Alexandra that you sat back and thought like, holy shit, we've made it, we've made something of this? Like, what would be that first moment where you thought that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I've ever actually sat down and thought that because I'm still just constantly working just to keep writing music and making music. But I think one of the funniest things that kind of was that moment for me wasn't even that long ago. It was like 2019, I think it was, so right, or 2018, 2019, I think, right before touring stopped.
Yeah.
One of the last tours we did, um, we went out with Papa Roach, and Papa Roach we've been friends with Papa Roach for quite a long time, but we went out and we did a tour together that summer. And I was talking to my mom about it, and my mom and my stepdad were like, "Do you realize who you're going on tour with?" I was like, "Yeah, Papa Roach." And they're like, my mom was like, "Yeah, you're going on tour with Papa Roach," and she starts like reminiscing about when I was a kid and I was like 12 to 14, 15 years old, just wearing all my Papa Roach merch, Papa Roach t-shirts and hoodies, and listening to Papa Roach and buying all Papa Roach albums from HMV and stuff growing up. And she was like, "You're going on tour with them." And I was, and that in that moment, I was like, holy cow, my mom's stoked because she knows, you know, the little kid that worked this hard to get to this point. She watched me wearing all these bands t-shirts, whether it was Bullet for Valentine or Slipknot or Papa Roach. So my mom's reaction to us touring with Papa Roach really for me was a moment where I was like, oh shit, like this is cool.
I still have some white Papa Roach merch in my wardrobe here behind me from I got to see them. I
Yeah,
remember
I mean, huge band for me growing up, you know.
I remember they played this club here in Dublin, and it was an over 18 show, but we were only 16 at the time. So, like an hour before we were supposed to leave to get the bus, we are making fake IDs to try and sneak in.
Just so you could get into the show.
But, like, clearly the guy looked at that and was thinking, like, I know this isn't real, but they made the effort. Go on in, lads.
That's awesome. That's
They
rad.
have a high energy show as well. Like, they're brilliant. And sound has evolved
Absolutely.
so much over the years from where they started.
Jacoby's just a fireball of energy. He's such a good front man. I think he's going to go down in history as one of the modern rock's best frontmen. I think.
And very nice guy, too.
Yes, yeah, he is.
Yeah, very nice guy. So, obviously, with the whole COVID bullshit that's been happening in the world the past while, and a load of bands had to just basically put everything they had on hold and stop what they were doing, which is a nightmare for musicians because you can't go out and do what they do. This is how we earn our
Yeah.
living. We can't do it anymore. How did you survive it? Being in your isolation, the lockdowns and stuff. Like, did you find you're still creative to keep that going, or was the new was you use that time to write new material for the new stuff that's after coming out?
For me, it was like it kind of was like a big reset switch. For me, it made me really, really realize how um, how much I've missed touring since I was a teenager with my wife and my kids and family and stuff like that. And so I spent the last 2 years just finally being present and
Yeah.
a dad, which for me was so fulfilling and so important. And it kind of it spurred me on even more to work even harder at asking, because I'm looking at these kids and they're taught that they see me on TV or whatever, and they're like, wow, that's awesome. So for me, I was like, well, I want to take this opportunity to not only be present, but show them that, if you love something and you want to do it, you got to do it. You got to follow that passion, follow that dream. And I don't, so all I could do to show them that was keep working. So even though we weren't able to go on tour, I've, we've released 2 records in this pandemic when we were told not to release any because there's too much noise, there's too much shit going on in the world. You can't tour, so don't release records. We've released 2, and I think it's important to show them that, keep pushing, keep working hard. And also, it was nice to be able to take the time to sort of write music and not have to worry about, well, this has to be done by this day because we're going out on tour and it has to be released for this. It's been really nice to just be able to sit in this room and just write guitar riffs and stuff and take our time really writing music together.
I would have thought the lockdown and COVID would be the perfect time to put the music out, something to keep everyone's hopes up, going that it will return. Like,
That's what, that's kind of how we saw it too. And I'm sure that's how a lot of artists and musicians do see it. But on the flip side, when there's business involved and there's
yeah,
people who aren't artists running it, they're like, well, they don't want to spend a bunch of money recording an album to not tour it, because if they don't tour it, it doesn't stream as well or sell as well. And there's a whole big cycle that obviously record labels and people within the industry rely on for the machine to keep running, and most of it was shut down. So I can see it from both sides, but certainly for me as a fan of music, has always got me through really hard parts of my life, especially when I was younger, going through, parents' divorces and stuff like that. Music was almost like my therapy, it was my rock and my safe place. So yeah, I think it's important to keep releasing music, and especially in a time like this.
yeah, because like I'm a guitar player myself, so I do get how therapeutic it is just to hammer out a heavy riff if you need to get the aggression out, or even just like a
Yeah,
clean melody as well, just to keep that emotion kind of going as well.
exactly. Yeah.
Like as you can see, I got my baby air behind me, my Dimebag guitar.
Your dime bag, I see that
Yeah,
up in the corner. That's rad. That's so cool.
yeah. Have to name her the Beast because that's how she sounds.
The beast. I love
That's how
that.
she sounds. So need a
That's
fitting name
awesome.
for that. So now that COVID is slowly going away, they're sort of easing back into live shows again. I know you went into a lot earlier in England because Ireland is still kind of slowly coming out there a little bit. But so with the world opening up again for live shows, are there plans now for the future? Any tours planned? Any other releases planned? Cause for the future, or
Yeah, I
what's
mean,
next in the plans?
we're trying. We're in the process of currently booking 3 tours, but it's still like,
Crazy.
the thing is that's difficult about it, especially with places like Europe and the UK, is each country has a different set of rules,
Yeah,
and so just to get to the UK and Europe and do a tour, it costs hundreds of thousands of pounds, or more. Uh, and so if everywhere's not firing on all cylinders and everywhere's not open, and you lose 1 or 2 shows, that ruins everything for the tour as far as a budgetary standpoint and being able to afford to actually do the tour. And it quite literally, it can be the difference between, doing a tour and coming home and making no money, which is one thing. That's fine, because we've been through such a shit show. It's like, let's just get out there and do it. There's a whole other thing, putting on a show, losing shows, so putting on a tour, losing shows, and then coming back off tour and being in debt like 150, 200,000 pounds or euros. So there's still so many logistics to try and figure out with COVID, because so many countries, they're coming out of lockdown at different rates. Even the ones that come out of lockdown, some have different restrictions. So you can operate a venue at half capacity, or and some places a full capacity. So there's just so much more that goes into it behind the scenes now, booking these tours, so many more logistics and hurdles to overcome. But like I said, we're currently in the process of booking three, and we're really hopeful that that's happening. It's been really frustrating for us because normally we'd be like, let's do a tour, figure it out, get it done, put it on sale. Now it's taken so much longer to even organize one, just with everything that's going on. It's really quite frustrating. But I'm hopeful that, like you said, I think we're coming out the other side of this thing. So I'm hoping sort of touring starts to get back to normal here sooner than later.
So the new material that he's put out over the COVID lockdown. Is there any standout tracks on that that you're dying to play in front of a crowd and get a crowd reaction from them?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to playing the the title track from my last album, "See What's on the Inside." For me, I think that's it's one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song I've ever written. I'm really really looking forward to playing that song live. And we've done one tour in this entire pandemic, and we obviously got to debut "Alone Again" live, and that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to bringing that across to the UK and Europe and playing that one live.
And Lone Again did very popular as well when it came out as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you see it popping up everywhere,
Yeah, that's
all the
awesome.
random Facebook groups.
There it goes.
So one thing I always do like to ask bands when I am talking to them is that one dream tour or dream gig they've always wanted to do, or that one thing with your band that they've always wanted to do, but you haven't yet done it yet.
For me, I would love to play um, with an orchestra at the Royal Albert Hall. That's something I've wanted to do since I was like 10 years old, 11 years old. Whenever I first started writing and playing music, I've just always wanted to play. I've always wanted to play with an orchestra. I grew up and I obviously watched Metallica's S&M and I watched the Scorpions with the orchestra, and it's something that I always wanted to do. But then to play at the Royal Albert Hall with an orchestra, for me, that's just always been like a lifelong dream for me.
Yeah, because Architects did that recently as well.
Did they? Yeah, I mean, dude, it's
Yeah,
just so cool. I mean, I'm sure we're probably a similar age to Architects, so they probably grew up watching the same DVDs, thinking the same thing.
probably. Yeah, because I think the S&M Metallica was probably the pinnacle for that kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there were bands that did it before, like like I said, like the Scorpions and stuff. But that Metallica S&M
Kiss as
DVD
well.
when it came out, I was like, whoa, this is insane. It was so cool.
Especially when you look out on the crowd for the Metallica one, because you're seeing classical fans with heavy metal bikers, and it's
Yeah,
like, how's this working? And it did work.
it did. It really did. And I think that opened the door for a lot of bands and musicians to sort of, show, hey, it's okay to enjoy more than one genre of music.
Oh, totally. Anyway, that's all I really have time for today. So thanks very much for sitting down and chatting with me.
Oh, of course, man.
And
Yeah, thank you. It was
yeah,
great.
look forward to hopefully you can visit Dublin because it'd be real for me not to come and visit.
Yeah, fine.
Anyway,
Hopefully at some point soon. I'm actually hoping this year at some point. I think we're coming. We're doing some shows in Ireland. So, like I said, if everything goes right, fingers crossed, we'll be out there soon.
yeah, I'll come visit. I promise.
We'll grab a beer.
Yeah, nice, nice. Anyway, thanks you very much for sitting down with me. Best of luck with everything in the future, and congrats on the new releases as well.
Thank you so much, mate. You take care.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Cheers.